Shut your eyes, take a slow breath, and imagine warm winds drifting over your face. Tonight you aren't lying in bed with a blinking phone by your side. No, tonight you drift gently along the mighty Nile, the river that has carried kings, scribes, and humble folks like you for thousands of years. Feel the hush of palm trees whispering secrets older than the pyramids themselves. Listen. Frogs croak, reeds sway, a distant flute serenades the dusk. You're almost home. A small mud brick house at the edge of a village built for artisans just like you. Your bones are tired, your fingers stained with pigment and grit, but your mind hums with the soft satisfaction of another day's masterpiece taking shape. And maybe, just maybe, tomorrow's mural might earn a nod from the overseer, if he ever stops napping under that shady date palm. Tonight, no worries. Just a soft mat, a flickering oil lamp, and dreams of golden tombs that your hands help build. For kings who will never lift a chisel themselves. Lucky them, right? Your day begins when the sky is still deep purple, before the first rays of Ra peek over the dunes. Roosters, forget them. You're awake before they even think of crowing. You slip on a simple linen kilt, worn soft by countless dawns, and step outside. The village is stirring. Neighbors greet each other with sleepy grunts. Children chase stray chickens, and somewhere someone curses at a stubborn donkey refusing to move. Same donkey, every morning. A quick splash in a stone basin clears your eyes. You pack a satchel, a few flatbreads wrapped in cloth, maybe a fig or two if you were lucky at market yesterday, and a clay jug of that thick beer that keeps your belly content, and the parasites away, mostly. With tools tied carefully in a bundle, you join the line of your fellow artisans trekking to the royal tomb site, footsteps crunching in dawn's hush. Around you, the desert stretches endless and soft, like a sleeping lion. By sunrise, you're already ankle-deep in limestone dust. The site bustles like a kicked anthill, carvers, painters, foremen barking half-hearted orders between sips of date wine. You pick your wall, a half-finished panel waiting for your steady hand. Today, it's scenes of the pharaoh hunting hippos, though rumour has it, he hasn't lifted a spear in his life. You chuckle softly as you trace the lines. Broad shoulders, heroic pose, tiny terrified hippo. Accurate, not really. Impressive? Absolutely. Nearby, an apprentice spills a pot of blue pigment, precious as gold dust. Everyone groans as he tries to scoop it back in with trembling hands. You whisper a joke to your neighbour. Better hope Anubis judges his soul more kindly than the overseer will judge that mess. Your neighbour snorts so loudly, he earns a glare from the foreman. Worth it. You lose yourself in the rhythm, chisel tap, brush stroke, step back, squint, fix a crooked line, sigh, repeat. The sun climbs, heat baking the courtyard stones till they shimmer like molten gold. Beads of sweat trickle down your back. The same back that's going to ache like a camel's tomorrow. When the sun is highest and no sane person works, you and the crew slump together in a sliver of shade beside a half-carved statue. You tear into coarse flatbread that could chip your teeth if you're not careful, dip it in sour beer, and call it lunch fit for a pyramid builder. Stories float through the group, some real, some suspiciously embroidered. One old mason claims he once carved Queen Tai's nose, and she blessed him with a silver ring. Another brags about wrestling a crocodile that threatened his pigment jars. You all know he's full of dung, but the tale passes the time. Nearby, someone dozes, mouth open, snoring like a bullfrog in the reeds. Another softly hums an old hymn to Hathor, goddess of love and beer, which is quite fitting given your current meal. A young girl, daughter of one of the painters, giggles as she tries to chase a lizard scuttling across the warm stones. You toss her a fig you were saving for later. Her delighted squeal buys you a smile that makes the rest of the crew mock groan at your soft heart. Let them talk. kindness costs less than pigment. As shadows grow long, you return to your wall. The painting comes alive. Lotus flowers bloom. Sacred birds stretch painted wings. The pharaoh towers victorious over chaos, all because your hands shape the stone's voice. You pause to admire your craft, pride blooming warm in your chest. This work will last thousands of years. Maybe some distant traveller, perhaps a curious child in a time so far off you can't even dream it, will peer at your work and wonder, who carved this line? Who painted this god? Well, it was you, a simple artisan, half asleep on his feet, dreaming of a hearty dinner and a soft mat. You belong to Deir el Medina, a real village built to house royal tomb workers, not slaves, not peasants, trained masters, paid in grain, oil and beer. You hold power in your calloused fingers, and you know secrets no king ever will. Hidden chambers, jokes scratched behind murals, prayers slipped between stones. When pharaohs cross the Duat, the realm of the dead, they do so surrounded by your visions. You shape eternity with a reed brush and a blunt chisel. And when payment arrives late, well, history remembers. Your ancestors once staged the world's first recorded strike, refusing to lift a single brush until grain rations were delivered. Even the great Ramses had to wait when the workers were hungry. Now that's power. At dusk, work ends. Tools bundled, you trudge back home as stars blink into a velvet sky. Warm wind rustles palm fronds. Frogs croak beside irrigation canals. Villagers wave lazily from doorways, asking how many gods you painted today. You exaggerate the number, of course. Inside your small house, the smell of lentil stew greets you. Your children tug at your kilt, eager to hear about the pharaoh's tomb, and if you found any treasure. You ruffle their hair, teasing. Only treasure today was seeing your mother smile at me, little scarabs. They groan. You wink at your partner over the cooking fire. Belly full, eyelids heavy, you stretch out on a mat. The flicker of an oil lamp dances on the mud brick wall. Somewhere a neighbour hums an old hymn, lulling you deeper into dreams. You drift to sleep imagining the afterlife. Endless gardens, rivers of sweet wine, lotus blossoms under a forgiving sun. And maybe, just maybe, no overseers in sight. Imagine this. The air is heavy with the scent of roasted goose and fig cakes. The moon sits fat and smug above the rooftops of your dusty artisan village. And for just one fleeting night, you, humble paint-smudged, chisel-wielding you, are free from stone walls, impatient overseers, and the endless itch of limestone dust in places you'd rather not discuss. Welcome, sleepy traveller, to the festival of the craftsmen, where laughter bounces off mud brick walls, secrets drip like honey from clay jars, and even the stern gods of Egypt can't resist tapping their divine feet to the drumbeat of mortal mischief. Tonight, you are not just a worker. You are an honoured soul, a dancer, a bad singer, and for once, it's all perfectly acceptable. So, close your eyes. Let the warmth of torchlight wash over you, and follow my voice as we drift into a night when even the humblest brush wielder becomes royalty. If only until dawn peeks slyly over the Nile. It begins at dusk. Somewhere beyond the cracked mud walls, a single drum calls out like a heartbeat stirring the desert awake. You tug off your paint-flecked tunic, trade it for a slightly less paint-flecked tunic, luxury, and follow the sound. In the village square, women swirl bronze lamps above their heads, tiny stars dancing low to the earth. Children screech, weaving around grown-ups who pretend to scold them, but secretly envy their endless energy. An elder lifts his arms and chants a prayer to Ptah, your patron god, the one who gave hands their craft and chisels their bite. Some artisans bow solemnly, others wink skyward and promise Ptah more beer than the Nile holds, if he'll just make tomorrow's hangover gentle. Platters appear, as if conjured by the goddess Hathor herself. Sticky dates, fresh flatbread soft as linen, and figs so sweet they could convince a crocodile to go vegan for a day. Beer jugs pass from hand to hand until jokes grow scandalous and flirting grows bold. Even you, shy stone polisher by day, find yourself bragging about how your new brush paints lotus petals so delicate even the priests can't find fault. Not that they dare ruin the festival with complaints tonight. Somewhere in the clamour, a dancer catches your eye. She spins like a flame, coins jingling around her ankles, eyes daring you to join. And you do. By Ra, you do. Moving in that graceful, stumbling way only a man with too much beer and not enough rhythm can. Laughter follows you like a loyal dog. Above it all, the moon grins, the gods smile, and the overseer, for once, pretends not to see the scandal brewing in every shadowed corner. They say the real craftsmen's festival was a tribute to Ptah, the divine sculptor of gods themselves, celebrated by the city's guilds with dances, offerings, and a night when hierarchies blurred like a drunk scribe's handwriting. Archaeologists have found festival lamps, drinking vessels, and clay figurines hinting at rowdy nights when humble artisans reminded Egypt that without their calloused hands, even Pharaoh's grandest tomb would be nothing but a hole in the sand. Tonight, you are part of that story. One laughter-slick moment woven into a history older than any kingdom. And so, beneath a sky quilted in stars, your head grows heavy from too much laughter and sweet beer. You lean back, feet dusty, belly full, heart light. For a few precious hours, life forgets its burdens. Tomorrow, the chisel will bite, the overseer will bark, and the tomb walls will demand your sweat and prayers once more. But tonight, you are free, an artisan dancing clumsily in the moon's embrace. Sleep now, festival soul. May Ptah guard your dreams until dawn paints the Nile gold once more. Drift back in time with me, weary dreamer. Picture the first hush of dawn breaking over your dusty village on the edge of Pharaoh's grand design. Before the overseer clears his throat and reminds everyone that slacking is for scribes, not sculptors, you sit cross-legged on a cool stone bench, greeting your oldest, dearest friends, your tools. They are more than lumps of copper and bristles stuck to sticks. They are your confidence, your life insurance, and sometimes the only reason you haven't hurled a stone tablet at your boss's head. Though, oh, the temptation. Close your eyes. Smell the mingled scents of crushed minerals, sweat, and a faint sweetness of beeswax polish. Hear the quiet scrape of a whetstone kissing metal awake. These tools carry your hope for a good day, your prayers for steady hands, and your desperate wish that, just once, that apprentice would stop putting your chisels back in the wrong jar. In the earliest grey light, your workshop is your private temple. The floor is sprinkled with fine white dust that clings to your ankles like loyal cats. The walls hum softly with yesterday's secrets, gossip half carved into statues, unfinished faces staring back, waiting for your touch to free them. You kneel at your tool basket like a priest before an altar. Each item has a story, your favourite chisel, its tip sharper than your tongue when someone spills your ochre. It once chipped away the block that became the Falcon of Horus, perched high in the temple courtyard today. Though your cousin still insists he did the better wing. The reed brush, bristles made from marsh reeds gathered by moonlight, or so the apprentice brags. It drinks up pigment like a drunk uncle at a festival, and if stroked just right, paints lotus petals that trick priests into sighing about divine beauty, as if they ever held a brush. The pigment bowl. Clay. Rim chipped where you lost your temper. At a fly that wouldn't stop dancing in the blue paint. Its insides cradle ground minerals. Copper for green, iron for red. Crushed lapis for a blue so vivid it could shame the sky. A single sneeze here could bankrupt the entire workshop. and you still remember the time a giggling novice tried to hide a spilled bowl under a mat. The blue stain is still there, like a permanent bad joke. Your mallet, worn smooth by generations of knock-knock jokes with stubborn limestone. Swing too soft, and the stone laughs. Swing too hard, and the overseer demands an explanation for the nose you accidentally liberated from a goddess statue. By sunrise, these tools cling to your skin like extra fingers. They hum with power only you understand. The promise that from a dull block of rock, you alone coax life, feathers, and immortal hieroglyphs that will outlive your bones 1,000-fold. Archaeologists today find these tools buried beside your grandest works. Evidence that even kings trusted no afterlife unless your calloused hands made the tomb splendid enough for eternity. Some copper chisels bear faint inscriptions. Property of Ipu, stone sculptor of Pharaoh Amenhotep III. Proof that you marked your precious blades like a modern artisan labels their favourite hammer to stop sticky-fingered co-workers. Fragments of reed brushes, pigment bowls still crusted with deep blues and desert reds, even plumb bobs carved from heavy stone. All hidden in dusty tomb corners to ensure that when your ghost awoke, it could pick up right where your mortal fingers left off. Without these tools, your gods would go faceless. Your pharaoh's statues would remain mute lumps of sandstone, and temple walls would stand as bare and awkward as a naked scribe at a royal banquet. Scandalous, truly. Now, drift deeper into sleep, dear craftsmen of forgotten kingdoms. Imagine your chisel resting snug against your bedmat, your brushes laid out like loyal guards. Somewhere, in the quiet dark, you hear the soft whisper of your mallet sighing. Rest well, tomorrow we shape eternity again. Tomorrow, your knuckles will crack. The overseer will bark about deadlines only the afterlife can afford to ignore. But tonight, your hands are honoured, your tools are loyal, and the world, for a few blessed hours, spins gently without demanding a single stroke more. Close your eyes. Dream of flawless brushstrokes and perfect cuts. And remember, in your steady hands, even stone trembles obediently. Sleep well, master of copper and pigment. The gods smile tonight, for they too owe their beauty to you. Now, drift deeper into sleep, dear craftsmen of forgotten kingdoms. Imagine your chisel resting snug against your bedmat, your brushes laid out like loyal guards. Somewhere, in the quiet dark, you hear the soft whisper of your mallet sighing. Rest well. Tomorrow, we shape eternity again. Tomorrow, your knuckles will crack. The overseer will bark about deadlines only the afterlife can afford to ignore. But tonight, your hands are honoured, your tools are loyal, and the world, for a few blessed hours, spins gently without demanding a single stroke more. Close your eyes. Dream of flawless brushstrokes and perfect cuts. And remember, in your steady hands, even stone trembles obediently. Sleep well, master of copper and pigment. The gods smile tonight, for they too owe their beauty to you. Your day begins with stone dust in your hair and rumour dust in your ears. You can't swing a mallet without hitting a story half whispered by giggling apprentices. The juiciest whispers, of course, swirl around old Hori the master painter, whose brilliant lotus murals grace Pharaoh's tomb, but whose wandering eyes grace just about every widow in the village. They say he once painted a priest's daughter reclining as a goddess, only the goddess was suspiciously shaped like the priest's daughter herself. Pharaoh might not notice, but the priest did. Hori now paints fewer temples and more grain jars. Cautionary tale in pigment, indeed. Then there's Merit, the weaver's daughter turned brush cleaner. She listens more than she talks. But rumour insists she once swapped a lump of precious lapis lazuli for a kiss from the coppersmith's apprentice. Naturally, both parties deny it vehemently, which in any village worth its salt means it absolutely happened. And what of the young novice Caney, who claims he can carve a falcon's feather so fine it fools real falcons into bowing? He brags until Hori threatens to glue his lips to a jar of glue. Yet each night, Caney sneaks back to practice by moonlight, and someday perhaps the gods will smile on his ambition instead of his big mouth. Egyptian artisans were more than silent labourers. They were tight-knit villages tucked behind guarded walls, where secrets sprouted faster than barley in the floodplain. Archaeologists reading scribes' records from places like Deir el Medina find daily notes of brawls, drunken disputes, forbidden flings, and petty thefts. One ancient note, scratched hastily on a limestone chip, records a craftsman caught consorting in the shadows with a colleague's wife, and being chased down the street with a chisel still in hand, pants decidedly not in place. A lesson for all time. Always secure your garments before fleeing scandal. Yet despite squabbles and stolen kisses, these gossip-slick communities stood firm. They carved Pharaoh's burial chambers, painted afterlife scenes where the gossip never ends, and made sure every tomb wall whispered, "We were here, and boy, did we live." As the sun scorches the mud brick walls, the gossip swirls on. You pretend not to listen, chisel to stone, brush to plaster, but every whispered giggle finds your ears. Hori complains that the blue pigment looks too green today, because Caney diluted it, accidentally or not. Merritt snickers behind a fig basket, swearing she saw the overseer kiss the baker's wife in the alley behind the beer stand. And you keep your head down, your laughter quiet, and your secrets locked tight, or so you hope. Even at dusk, when the lamps flicker and the day's chisels rest warm from use, the rumours cling to the walls. They weave the artisans together like a well-twisted rope. Half truth, half nonsense, entirely human. So close your eyes now, secret keeper of stone and story. Let the dust settle in your hair, the last whispers float away on the Nile breeze. Tomorrow, the same old scandals will circle anew. The apprentices will bicker, Hori will wink at someone he shouldn't, and Merritt will trade secrets for more than a lump of lapis. And you will smile, chisel in hand, carving Pharaoh's immortality while your own mortal joys bloom in the shadows. Sleep well, gossip gatherer. May your dreams be free of scandal, or at least entertaining enough to make the dawn worth facing. Close your eyes, drift back down the Nile's gentle breeze, and find your dusty sandals once more in the sun-cracked courtyard of your bustling workshop. Today, we leave chisels and brushes aside, for even the greatest artisan can't carve a falcon if his belly growls louder than his hammer. Tonight we feast, we burp, and we quietly regret it all when the overseer shouts at dawn. So hush your thoughts and loosen your imaginary belt. Let's taste what filled an Egyptian artisan's belly and hear the chuckles that echoed from bread ovens to beer jugs, long before takeout menus were even a twinkle in time. Picture it. Sunrise bleeds over the village rooftops, and the workshop yawns awake. The first treat to greet you isn't a polite good morning. It's the warm, earthy smell of freshly baked bread floating from communal ovens like a promise that at least today, hunger will not gnaw your bones. Bread is life, quite literally. Your breakfast? Bread and onions. Midday snack? A hunk of bread dipped in lentil stew, sometimes sprinkled with a pinch of precious salt if you're feeling fancy. Dinner? Well, more bread, naturally. On festival days, you might even get a bite of honey cake, which guarantees sticky fingers and at least one apprentice trying to sneak a second slice behind a statue. Loaves come in all shapes, round, oval, pyramid-shaped, a cheeky nod to your royal bosses. Some loaves are so dense, biting into them too eagerly might cost you a tooth, an occupational hazard for the hungry and reckless. Many a workshop elder boasts a gap-toothed grin, each missing molar a silent testament to undercooked dough and over-ambitious chewing. Now, what washes down this carb kingdom? Beer. Gallons and gallons of it. Egyptian beer is thick, cloudy, and more porridge than pint. Brewed from leftover bread loaves, mashed up and fermented with wild yeasts that sometimes do their job a little too enthusiastically. 1 mug and you're pleasantly mellow. 2 mugs and you're telling your co-worker you could single-handedly carve Pharaoh's entire tomb in a day. 3 mugs and you're face down in the courtyard, snoring until someone pokes you awake for the night shift. Beer is payment, hydration, and courage in a jug. Without it, chisel slips would multiply, apprentices would revolt, and the overseer's nagging would sound even more shrill than usual, an unimaginable horror. Even tomb paintings show rows of beer jugs and bread baskets, a clear sign that the afterlife must have an endless tap and fresh loaves at dawn, or else, what's the point of living forever? Archaeologists marvel at how Egyptian workers were fueled by such simple fare. Excavations in workers' villages like Deir el Medina show massive communal bread ovens, beer jars sealed with straw stoppers, and scraps of charred loaves with human bite marks still visible. Proof that the snack raids were very real. Ancient records sometimes detail complaints about bad beer, sour bread, or worse, late rations. One scribe's note from over 3,000 years ago grumbles that a brewer watered down the beer so thin it wouldn't intoxicate a donkey. Imagine trying to work on a royal tomb stone-cold sober. Preposterous. As the noon sun bakes the courtyard, you and your fellow craftsmen gather cross-legged under a half-finished colonnade for a quick break. Someone passes a basket of rough loaves. You tear off a piece, dip it in a clay bowl of lentils, and try not to drop crumbs on your new apron. Keeney the apprentice talks with his mouth full, bragging about how he'll open his own workshop someday, where he'll pay everyone double and serve honey cakes daily. Everyone laughs, partly at him, partly because dreaming costs nothing when your mouth is too full to argue. Meanwhile, old Horry nurses his beer, muttering curses at the lumps at the bottom of the jug. He swears the brewer is adding river water again. He swirls the drink, sniffs suspiciously, then shrugs and drinks anyway. The entire courtyard hums with sleepy contentment and gentle belches that even the gods must tolerate. So rest now, full-bellied traveller of time. Feel the warm bread heavy in your hand, the frothy beer fizzing in your memory. Drift into a dream where hunger never pinches your gut and the beer never turns sour. Tomorrow, your mallet will ring true again. Your brush will dance over plaster, and once more you'll gather with dusty fingers to break bread and share laughter, proving that no kingly tomb can ever outshine the simple joy of a meal well earned. Sleep well, artisan of the Nile. May your dreams be stuffed with loaves, laughter, and just enough beer to make the afterlife delicious. Shh. Tonight we leave behind the hammer, the chisel, and the weary backache of an honest day's toil. Tonight, your spirit floats on the sweet perfume of lotus petals and fresh cooked goose. Tonight, we join the festival, where even the humblest artisan can swagger like a noble, if only for a few giddy, wine-soaked hours. So loosen your linen kilt, lay down your burdens by the garden gate, and let me guide you through a night when ancient Egypt's hardest workers forgot their calluses and remembered how to laugh until dawn. Imagine it. The sun dips behind the limestone hills, painting the village walls gold. The overseer, who normally stalks about barking orders, now stumbles home early, already tipsy from a neighbour's wine jug. Torches flicker in the courtyard. Children chase each other around baskets of dates and figs, giggling under garlands of woven papyrus. The old women lay out platters heaped with bread, goose legs glazed with honey, and baskets of dried fish that smell suspicious but taste divine after your third cup of beer. The festival is for the gods, yes, perhaps for Hathor, goddess of joy, music, and unbridled merrymaking. But make no mistake, it's also for you. A day when artisans trade chisels for castanets, brush strokes for dance steps, and serious faces for drunken grins. Under the full moon's gaze, the food piles up as if an invisible pharaoh foots the bill. That crumbly daily bread, upgraded to fluffy loaves stuffed with dates and nuts. Lentil stew, replaced with steaming cuts of beef and goose, crackling fat that makes every mouth water. Even the household cat circles hungrily, hoping for scraps. Beer barrels are rolled out by the dozen. Wine jars, usually reserved for priests and snooty scribes, are cracked open for the artisans. A scandal that nobody dares to mind tonight. 1 sip, 2 sips. Suddenly the shy weaver twirls like a temple dancer. The grumpy carpenter attempts a song that might summon a rainstorm, and young Kenny tries to impress every unmarried woman within earshot by boasting he once wrestled a crocodile, which, for the record, was actually a very large lizard. But who's checking facts tonight? Archaeologists studying Deir el-Medina, the famous village of royal tomb artisans, have found festival invitations scribbled on pottery shards, proof that even the most back-breaking workers knew how to throw a bash. Records speak of days when labour paused, so craftsmen could honour the gods with music, beer and enough roasted goose to shame the local poultry population for weeks. One ancient letter even complains that a worker missed 3 days of labour after excessive feasting and revelry, a polite way of saying he drank himself horizontal under a palm tree. The gods must have laughed. As the night ripens, so do the antics. Drummers gather near the courtyard's edge, beating out a rhythm so contagious even stiff-limbed old Hoary attempts a dance, much to everyone's delight and mild horror. Girls swing garlands of flowers, boys clap along, and you, yes, you, forget for a blissful moment that tomorrow your hands will ache from shaping royal coffins. Tonight, you have only this heartbeat, this drumbeat, this laughter that curls up toward the stars. Inevitably, a few brave souls will vow to wake before dawn for the next work shift. They say it with beer-soaked conviction, swearing to the gods they'll carve twice as fast tomorrow. Everyone knows they're lying, but no one cares, not tonight. So, drift gently now, festival goer of ancient days. Hear the last drum fade into silence. Smell the faint sweetness of leftover honey cakes hidden under cloth to keep the mice away. Feel the warmth of a clay cup in your hand and the warmth of friendship all around. Sleep soundly, weary reveller. May your dreams replay the festival's laughter, the full belly, and the freedom of a night where even an artisan could forget he was anything but free. Tomorrow, the overseer's shouts will return, but tonight, there is only music, feasting, and the memory that sometimes life really is a celebration worth staying awake for or sleeping peacefully through. Imagine, if you will, the cool, shadowed halls of a royal tomb, where your own handiwork breathes eternal life into stone, paint, and hieroglyphs. Tonight, as your eyelids grow heavy, step quietly into the sandals of an Egyptian artisan, whose chisel shapes not only walls, but the very afterlife of kings, queens, and perhaps, someday, yourself. Close your eyes and picture the workshop's fading torchlight, the slow, reverent rhythm of carving, the soft brushstrokes that whisper secrets meant for eternity. This is not just work, it is a gamble with time itself, a wager that the tomb you helped build will cradle a soul forever. So settle in and let the dreams of immortality carry you gently to sleep. Your hands know the weight of the chisel, as well as the rough linen of your kilt. Each stroke on limestone isn't just stone, it's a story meant to travel past death. You carve scenes of feasting and fields, of gods and goddesses smiling down from their celestial thrones. You paint vibrant blues and reds made from crushed minerals, colours that must withstand centuries of silence underground. The tomb is a temple of memory, where the pharaoh's Ka, his spiritual double, will wander forever. Your skill ensures the king's name is remembered, his deeds celebrated, and his soul fed by the offerings depicted on these walls. It's heavy responsibility, But there's pride in the work. After all, few can say they help make gods immortal, can they? And yes, sometimes you catch yourself wondering if the afterlife really includes eternal naps, or if the gods are just toying with mortals who thought this whole thing through a bit too literally. In places like Deir el Medina, the village built to house tomb artisans, we know from papyri and ostraca, that's fancy for pottery shards with scribbles, how these craftsmen lived, worked, and dreamed. They had unions, believe it or not, workers who went on strike when supplies ran low or pay was delayed. Imagine grumbling over your dinner bread and saying, "No work tomorrow until the beer flows." Their graffiti, scrawled in hidden corners of the tombs, reveals jokes, prayers, and sometimes complaints. A charming reminder that behind the solemn faces of stone were real humans with real moods. One famous inscription reads something like, "May I carve cleanly, may the gods keep the bugs away, and may the boss be far, far away today." As twilight fades, you find yourself alone in the tomb, torchlight flickering on painted walls, the only sound your steady breathing and the soft tap of chisel on stone. This quiet, almost sacred solitude is the artisan's reward. Your work will outlast empires, wars, and even the shifting desert sands. Some nights, you hum softly an old tune, a lullaby to the spirits of the dead and the living alike. Your mind drifts to the family waiting outside the village, the warm bread shared, the laughter around the fire. You remind yourself, though you carve for kings, you live simply, and that is its own kind of immortality. And sometimes, just sometimes, you wonder if one day someone will admire your tiny, imperfect signature hidden in a corner, centuries from now, and smile at the thought that even a humble artisan's mark can echo forever. Now, dear listener, feel your eyelids grow heavy as the ancient tomb's shadows stretch long and soft. Picture yourself resting beside that silent stone, your hands steady and your heart full. Sleep deep, knowing you've touched eternity with every strike and stroke. May your dreams carry you through endless starry nights, beyond pyramids and desert winds, to a place where time is gentle and forever is just a peaceful rest. Good night, artisan of the Nile. Your legacy awaits.